time he was going to share. Somebody give us something good going on in your life right now. One word. Not one word, but one person. Somebody give us quiet again. Y'all falling apart, aren't you?
No, it's noise back here. They're rattling chairs back here. Can't hear a thing.
I love when I hear nerds out in my coat box, so y'all don't speak up or talk on me.
Would you say that? I'll let you let's sing a weird song for our friends tonight. Good. I picked up my own. I think I was do one from the beginning of the hymn, one from the end of the hymn. But I picked one and then I said I'm not. We're going to do number 3 in your hymn. 3. See if you know this. Sunday morning hymn. Is that from 1890? 1757. Y'all know this one. Don't you learn it quick? Am I the only one that knows it? Y'all been around the church around with me. Almost every one of you. can't say this is William Johnson.
Right. That's a funny name. Anyhow. Let's sing it anyhow. Come thou Almighty, help us thine end to see, and bring us ancient of days. Study about who God is. That's why I picked this hymn. That's why I listen to the words to it, okay? Come thou saved tonight, this is a good song to just save tonight. You can give your testimony about it. Truly wonderful what the Lord has done, isn't it? Truly wonderful what the Lord has done. Yeah, some of you are really excited about that. It's truly wonderful what the Lord has done. Amen. What the Lord has done. Amen. It begins really good, folks. He pardoned my transgressions. Really good, folks. He pardoned my greatest thing we need. Okay? 381. He pardoned my transgressions. He sanctified my soul. He
One day
Elections on Sunday morning for new church board members and officers and stuff, so we'll be praying about that. Church elections on Sunday, new church board members and officers and stuff, so. I'm glad you're here tonight. Glad you're not in hospital. I'm glad you're here tonight. Hospital. Well, John, you're not doing a devotion tonight, so would you lead us in a word of prayer?
Father, thank
John,
you,
you're not doing a
Lord,
devotion
for
tonight.
so will you lead us in a word? Father, we're just so thankful that we're born again believers. Thank you, Lord, placed in the blood and grace of Father's love. Lord, with great anticipation, we're looking forward, born again, to that time when we meet placed in the blood of the truth of Father. Till then, God, let's be busy about giving you a word. Looking forward, and about Lord, that time when we souls to come to you, then God, let me be to God. Thank you for your faithfulness, tonight, Lord, watching. Touch the soul, come to Jesus, and good news of God. Thank you for your faithfulness.
Well, you have a big fancy outline there that I was preparing for you. I hope you appreciate that. You have a fancy outline there that I was preparing for you. I hope you have that outline. You do with it what you want, spiritual growth. But I want to ask you some questions, and like I said, you all need to speak up because I cannot hear you. And neither can the people across the hall. Ask you some questions, and like I said, you all need to speak up because I cannot hear you well. We're talking about God.
Is that a good thing to do on Bible study? And especially different attributes of God, different ways people think of God. Okay, and I know that everybody has, certain opinions about God, whether you're saved or unsaved, everybody has some opinion about God. Some believe there is no God, but that's an opinion about God. Everybody has it. Share with me, if you would, first of all, some phrases or words when someone gives you this word.
Share with me, if you would, first of all,
Anything that you think is important.
some phrases or words when when someone
Revenge, Doris?
Hatred.
Hatred.
Getting even.
Getting even, that's a good one. What's the old phrase, I'm get mad, I get even? That's revenge. Okay, anything else, anybody else?
phrase, I get mad, I get even.
Holding grudges.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, anybody else?
Revenge is a dish that tastes best when it's served cold. Don't get on my bad side. I'll get even with you.
Revenge is a dish that tastes
Now
best.
you do that, though. Yeah. How about these
Get
two
on my
words,
bad
getting
side.
along? I didn't know what the phrase there. It's supposed to be the opposite of revenge. Can you think of any words or phrases that,
I don't know what's the phrase there.
harmony, good word, good word.
Can you think of any words
Anybody
or
else?
phrases that, you know,
Peace. Peace.
harmony, good word.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, my back needs scratching. Peace. One hand washes the other, then if you wanna really get spiritual, do to others as you would have them do unto you. That's a good one.
Hand wash the
Along
other,
with people,
and
unity,
really get
harmony,
spiritual,
on and on and
do to
on.
others as you would have.
If I had a coin here tonight, I would flip a coin, but I forgot to bring a coin, so I don't have a coin.
Unity,
I'm gonna call heads, okay? When I call heads, you give me, I want you to describe something that pleases you.
I'm gonna
Got it?
call heads, okay?
Anything.
When I call heads, you give me,
Spiritual,
you give me,
okay?
I want you to describe
Anything that
something
pleases
that
you. Heads,
pleases you.
Friends.
friends, okay?
Doesn't have to be
Alice,
spiritual.
good job, Jim. She just sits there. She just sits there.
Alice, good job, Jeremy.
If I say tails, tell me something that annoys
She
you.
just sits there.
Tails.
When someone complaining all the time.
If I say tails,
they
tell me
don't
something
seem
that
to
annoys
be able to
you.
Find anything
Tails.
to be joyful somewhere.
I have to say this in a crowd, but
You gonna say Alice again?
the way our federal government is acting with 600,000 people don't have jobs.
Alice again?
The way our federal government is acting with 600,000 people don't have a job, don't have jobs. Dave,
Heads.
This isn't that hard, come on. Heads, what pleases you? Something good to eat, very good. Jim?
good meal, that's what I was doing.
That's it, good.
Heads, what pleases?
Oh, boy.
Very good. Jim?
And one more tails.
Oh, boy.
What annoys you?
That's all I'm saying. That's one of your pet peeves, though.
And one more tails. What annoys
I
you?
had one the other night, you know, I'm crossing the bridge from Matthews to Middlesex, passed me on the bridge.
I asked you on the bridge.
Yeah, and he just got up to the cars in front of us and stopped there, so he was going over there.
You pull up a long shower and put that on the
I'm trying not to do that nowadays, Jim, but pull the gun on you and everything else, you know. What I'm trying to get at here is we often
I'm trying
see,
not to do that.
we should see both sides to something. Okay, heads, tails, revenge, getting along, you know. But most things that we deal with in life
See both sides.
good and bad.
Okay, heads, tails,
Can
revenge,
you give me some
getting
examples of that? I said it a little while ago, at least we're not in the hospital.
good, bad.
And that's not, you know, not a good place to be in a hospital, but it is a good place to be if you're sick, you need help. Doris, what did you say?
Marriage.
Good and bad.
I can get away with it.
Not a good place to be in a hospital, but it's a good place to be if you're sick.
Terry, are you watching this? Doris said that.
I can get away with it.
Terry, are you watching this?
All right, we're gonna go to two more words.
Doris said that.
What's the earliest thing you can remember thinking about Satan? I know for many of us here tonight, that's a good long ways back. What's the earliest thing you can remember thinking about? He started all this? I know for many of us here tonight, that's a good long ways. That's right, he was. Okay, John? You got a chronic smoker. He started all this? That's right, he was. Okay, John? You got a chronic smoker. Anybody else? Earliest recollection you have about Satan? What does Satan seem like to you?
At that time. I don't know what it was, a television show or something we watched, and somebody didn't remember way back when they couldn't remember when they were, oh, it's Perry Mason.
What does Satan seem like to you?
The girl couldn't remember back, I think. She couldn't remember back when she was 4 years old. I can't either.
Perry Mason this morning. Okay, the girl couldn't remember back. What did you learn about the devil? What did he seem like to you that early? Your earliest recollection, that happened before. He's bad. He's the embodiment of bad.
He's always trying to get you to do something that you know you shouldn't do.
Earliest recollection, that happened before. Has your idea of Satan changed through the years from when you was little to now?
It's worse now.
It's worse now? He's still bad. You feel bad about him?
I think he's still bad.
Oh, he's still bad. Okay. From when you was little to now. What's the earliest thing you can remember about God?
Still bad.
Love. Feel bad about him?
Still bad.
He's everywhere. What's the earliest thing you can remember about God? Your idea of God changed through the years. It's everywhere. There you go. It should. You should grow since you were 3 or 4 years old. How would you describe God today? Don't use the word love, even though he is. There you go. It should. All grow since you were 3 or 4 years old. How would you describe God today? Don't use the word love, even though he is. Let's go to 2 other words. Awesome. Ladies, okay? Are there any good characteristics of your mother that you see in yourself? Let's go to 2 other words.
Yeah, my mother was a real Christian woman.
Okay?
She read her
Are there any
scriptures
good
every day.
characteristics of your mother that you see in your women? We'll accept it anyhow.
Well, I can't hear all the noise going back here, so I was trying to. What did you say? Ask the question again.
Well, it's okay, anybody can answer it.
Can't hear it all.
Any characteristics you have of your mother.
Oh, my mother. What did I say? Ask the question again. She was a
It's okay. How about any less than desirable characteristics of your mother?
Oh, my mother. Well, she spanked us a lot.
Characteristics that you have. How about any less than desirable characteristics? I used to blame this on my mother's family because my grandmother was pretty heavy and then my mom wasn't exactly thin and all that. So it must have been her fault that I got this. She's not here to defend herself either. So my grandmother, toward the end, my dad had one too. So it must have been her fault that I got this. How do you think those characteristics from your mother came about? Toward the end, my dad had one too. Say again, Marvin? Genetics, which is what? Passed on from one generation to another. How about your father? Any characteristics that you have that you share with your father? You can think of? Same questions here, okay? Genetics, which is what? Passed on from one generation to another. How about your father? Any characteristics? It's his fault because you have that you share with your father? Same questions here, okay?
I can remember my father telling me that when I was really small, well, when I was real young, I'll change it from small to young. When I was young, and he'd always say, don't try to do something, do it. When I was really small, if you think you can do something, do it, but don't try to do something, just go ahead and do whatever it is. And, then I learned to do that growing up, do it.
Jesus said,
You can do something.
a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit.
And
In the same way, good and evil cannot come from the same source. Jesus, everybody's heard those verses, haven't you? Good fruit, bad fruit. Can't get something bad out of something good, in the same way, good and evil cannot come from the same source. We know that, don't we? Well, then how come, good fruit, bad fruit, think here, how come in the Old Testament, over and over and over again, God is seen as this mean, overbearing ogre who just destroys nations? And then when you get to the New Testament, the Old Testament versus New Testament, think about this. God is seen as this mean, overbearing, and he could have wiped out those Pharisees, destroys nations, who were picking on him and throwing stuff at him and trying to stone him and everything else. But how come? Why do we have this Old Testament pictures of him over and over, picking on him, and yet in the New Testament, that's not the picture we get?
Because a different set of people saw him.
Why do we have this Old Testament picture? I disagree, Howard. And the reason I disagree with that is because God doesn't change between me and Doris. She's different than I am.
Well, I'm saying the people changed in the Old Testament.
We'll see if we can prove that or disprove it. Barbara. And the reason I disagree with that is because God doesn't change between me and Doris. She's different than I am.
Well, I'm saying the people changed.
We'll see if we can prove that or disprove it. Barbara. Okay.
He told them why they wanted to kill the people, because he knew that they were not going to be there, and that Israel would be swayed in whatever, but it was also before Jesus, he told them, Jesus came, and because of Jesus, we do have life.
Okay. Sandra?
Jesus came.
So Jesus changed everything.
Yeah.
Yes, if we wanted to. I
Because
mean,
of
it
the
doesn't make
foreshadowing.
In the Old Testament, did bad things happen?
Oh, yes.
Did, like what? Give me some examples of bad things that happened in the Old Testament.
Well, yes, then constantly did, they burned their children, they sacrificed.
In the Old Testament, did bad things happen? Like what? Give me some examples of bad things that happened in the Old Testament. Okay? Did all the bad stuff come from God?
No.
It came from disobedience.
It was disobedience,
Is that right?
because sin is
Well, let's look at some scriptures and see if you're right. Okay? Let's go, first of all, to Genesis chapter 32. And I gave you scriptures on your paper so you can get there ahead of time. I saw some of you doing. Let's look at the scriptures and see if you're right.
Is that okay?
That's okay. That's okay. First of all, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I do it. I gave you scriptures on your paper, okay? We're gonna read 3 or 4 of these. Let's read some of these Old Testament scriptures here. And let's share what they reveal about God. That's okay. Okay? Because there's different stories and different things going on in each and every one of them, okay? And I hope you're familiar with it. With Genesis 32, for the volunteer will read those 9 or 10, 11 verses. Verse 22, 32. Share what they reveal about God. Thank you all. Okay? There's different stories and different things going on in each and every one of them, okay? I hope you're familiar with it. With Genesis 32, volunteer will read those 9, 10, 11 verses there. Verse 22, 32. Jacob, thank you. Jacob's getting ready to go back home. He's been out of the country. He served, for his wife, and he got another wife, and he got a bunch of animals and all that stuff. And he's heading back home to go make up amends with his brother, Jacob. And he's on the trip, and this is where Jacob's getting ready to go back home. He's been out of the country. He served, for his wife, and he got another wife, and he got a bunch of animals and all that stuff. And he's heading back home to go make up amends. Okay, and this is where it comes in verse 22.
He took them and sent them over servants, and they sent over what he had, and Jacob was left alone, and the man wrestled with him until the break of day. Then when he saw that he began to prevail against him, and he Russell. Now, when he saw, he said, let me go, for the day breaks. He said, I will not let you go unless you bless him against him. So he said to him, what is your name? He said, Jacob. And he said, going forward, Russell, your name shall no longer be Jacob, the day breaks. For you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. So then Jacob asked, saying, tell me your name, my friend. He said, why is it that they asked about my name? And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place now, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Just as he crossed over the mountain, and now the sun rose on him, and he beat on his leaped on his hip. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel will not eat the muscle just as he crossed over, which is on the hip side, because he touched the sun rose on his hip, and the muscles ranked on his hip. Therefore, to this day, they build a cave.
Jacob is wrestling with God. Okay? Hosea tells us that was an angel, but Hosea also believes, and most scholars do, that was the incarnated Christ come down to wrestle with him, to meet with him, and tell him. That's one reason why he said in verse 29, tell me your name. And he said, why is it that you want to know my name? It tells us you know who I am. Really, is what he said. So, that was the incarnated Christ. The face of God in the Old Testament. Was that a common occurrence? That's one reason he said. Here's Jacob wrestling with God all night long, folks. He said, why is it that you want to know my name? But every time, most of the time, you know who I am. Most of so many times that he went up on the mountain and stuff. And usually he sees the face of God normally brought death to people. Okay? God even told Moses, Jacob wrestling with God all night long. I will pass by, but don't you look every time, most of the time. So now we're told to get close to God. But back then, and usually let's go to Exodus 15. Normally Exodus 15 people. Okay? God even told us, get in the cave, I will pass by. Verse 3 through 6. This is a song of praise. Close to God. Back then, volunteer. Exodus 15, 3 through 6. Exodus 15.
The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name.
Verse 3 through 6. This is a song of praise, okay? Volunteer. Exodus 15, 3 through 6.
The Lord, your right hand, O Lord, has become glorious and power. Your right hand, O Lord, has dashed the enemies to pieces.
Good. Y'all know what's going on here, don't you? They cross the Red Sea. The whole nation of Israel gets across on dry land. Then all of a sudden, God comes down and destroys all those who are chasing him. Isn't God nice? Good. Y'all know what's going on here, don't you? Don't answer this question. The whole nation of Israel gets on dry land. Israel to cross over, and why did he kill the Egyptians who were chasing him? Don't answer it out loud. I'm coming back to it. Isn't God nice? Okay? This is Israel's song of praise about the Red Sea. Don't answer. God's a warrior. Okay? He killed all of them. Allow Israel. God has done it. Look what it said there. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Don't answer it out loud. All right, Deuteronomy. Or this is Israel's song of praise about Deuteronomy. God's a warrior. He killed all of them. 32. God has done it. What it says there. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. 39 and 42. All right, Deuteronomy.
See now that I, even I, am here, there is no God.
Deuteronomy 30, 39 and 42. Two verses there. 39 and 42.
Devour flesh, and that is the blood of the slain for the cattle, and the vengeance is in my hands.
Does he sound like a nice God? Remember who's writing all this, folks? This is the Israelites, this is God's people, etc., etc. Job chapter 1, verse 21. Job 1:21. Hang on to the thoughts of all these scriptures. We're going to come back to them in just a minute here. Job 1:21. God. Really right over this, and I want to read a short life that's got people, etc. Job chapter 1:21.
And he
Job
said,
1:21.
I came from a mother's womb.
Hang on to the thoughts of all these scriptures. We're going to come back to them in just a minute. Yep. Job 1:21.
Forgave, and the Lord has taken away, blessed is the name of the Lord.
Short of Job. Don't be short. He kept saying that over and over and over to all his friends who were saying, you must have sinned.
And he said,
He pipes up and says, God gave it to me, God took it away. He must be some kind of mean God. Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45, verse over and over and over to all his friends who were saying, you must have sinned. He pipes up and says, God gave it to me, God took it away. Some kind of mean God. Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45, verses 6 and 7.
I form the light and I create darkness. I make peace and create calamity. I, the Lord, always said, they may know from the rising of the sun.
What I want you to see from these scriptures is, folks, God is a God of light. He's a God of life. But the Old Testament keeps telling us over and over and over that He's a God of death as well. And darkness, it says there, He created light, He created darkness, okay? Why, what I want you to see from these scriptures, I think this is important because a lot of people come, not a lot of people, but I have had people talk to me. The Old Testament keeps telling us over and over and over the Old Testament death as well. You know, darkness is in this, created light, created darkness. I remember Bill Aiken, some of you and Bill used to come to this church, and he did not like the Old Testament at all. A lot of people come because of all of the, I have not been there about God, but I want you to see the contrast of it. And I want you to hear this, okay? Old Testament scholars help us by pointing out that attributing violence and destructive acts to God can be partly explained, and I cannot explain it, this is a great explanation of it, okay? Because of destructive acts of God can be partly explained by the fact that the ancient Israelites had no concept of Satan, Old Testament, until after the Babylonian exile. They only knew God. They were a monotheistic society. They only believed in one God. And as a consequence of their strict monotheism, they attributed all things to God. And that's why much of the Old Testament points to that. Life and death, sickness and health, blessing and cursing, to the intentional will and direct action of the sovereign Lord. And we just read it in Isaiah 45. I am the Lord, there's no other. I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity, I create disaster. I, the Lord, do all things. And if we didn't, I asked you what your life would be like if Satan wasn't here and cursing to the intentional. They didn't know anything about Satan until after the Babylonian exile. Okay? So they thought everything, if they believed in God and everything came from God, including bad stuff, I, the Lord, do all things. Martin Luther agreed, for the hand that wields the sword and kills with it is not man's hand but God, and is not man but God who hangs, tortures, beheads, kills, and fights. All these are God's works and judgments. So they thought everything, if they believed. We see things differently, and somebody brought this up since Jesus Christ, okay? But in the Old Testament, especially, their concept of God was a whole lot different than ours. Okay? Secondly, ancient Israel had no concept of secondary causes of death and destruction, what we call acts of nature. We see things differently. As I've grown through the years, and I've grown so much spiritually, and I'm so their concept of God was a whole everything that we everything that we see and the world sees as acts of nature, the Old Testament people knew that came from God. How many of you had wind the other night? Spiritually, and I'm so. Well, God must have been angry at you. Everything that we it's sarcasm. True. If you're the Old Testament, that's where you're at. I mean, look at Job as acts of nature. God, his barns blew over, they took his family, on, and all of his friends came rushing to him. What did you do? You must have sinned that the wind came and took your family away. Because of their concept of God. True? Okay? Because of their concept of God. We call things acts of nature. But Hebrew language doesn't even have the word nature. Consequently, natural disasters such as plagues, famines, floods, fires, storms, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, accidents, diseases, and deformities were all attributed to God. These distinctions, however, are either unknown or lost upon most readers of the Old Testament, because we see things differently than what they were going through. The sad result is that the glory of God celebrated in both Testaments is diminished by those biblical passages where God is sometimes portrayed as a fierce warrior and a wanted destroyer. Also, God must have seen in the Old Testament, because we see things differently than what they were going through. The sad result is that the glory of God celebrated in both Testaments is diminished by the biblical passages where God is sometimes portrayed as a fierce warrior. Yeah, somehow they lost their idea of who he was.
I mean, they actually God put his heel on the head of the snake because he was condemning him to be lowly and crawl on the ground. So, if they knew biblical history, that's it. He was sure.
Somehow they lost
was bad.
you would think, but for some reason it got lost in the growth of mankind, going from Adam and Eve to all his, and then tossed out of the garden, as you said, and, through the flood and starting over again.
Biblical history is the beginning of evil right there to me. Was bad.
You would think, but for some reason it got lost in the growth of mankind, going from Adam and Eve to all his, and then tossed out of the garden, and there's the bad flood and starting over again.
That's why we say missionary.
Right there to me.
Let's go to the New Testament, Luke chapter 9. Okay, Luke 9. 51 through 56. Hiram, you got it? Yeah. Come on, read it for us. Luke chapter 9, verse 51 to 56.
Now it came to pass, when the time had come for him to be received up, that he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face. And as they went, they entered a village of Samaritans to prepare for him. But they did not receive him, because his face was set before the journey to Jerusalem. And when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down in heaven and consume them, just as Elijah did? But he turned and rebuked them and said, You do not know what manner of spirit you are of. For the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village and consumed them.
What does that passage reveal about God to you?
But he turned and rebuked them and said,
Let's start with what the disciples thought. They're heading towards Jerusalem, they stopped in a village, and they did not receive him in that village, so the disciples say, Lord, you want us to call down fire? These mean people won't let you stay here overnight. Basically, is what it was, okay? So, what's the disciples? They're coming from, is there any other time you can think of in the scriptures where fire came down? Towards Jerusalem, they stopped in a village, and they did not receive him in that village. Old Testament wrath of God had to be from God because of this. That's the only place it could come from, okay? But, now what's it tell you about God and what Jesus says here, okay? He turned and rebuked his disciples and said, what's he saying? Old Testament wrath of God had to be from God because of this. That's the only place it could come from, okay? Son of Man does not come to destroy. God is not a revenge taker, okay? There's the word from the Lord, folks. Disciples and said he came to give light, okay? What's he saying? 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 4.
Who desires all men to be saved and to come to the knowledge of truth.
He desires all men to be saved. God is not a knowledge of the truth.
What about the women?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Hiram, he knows that we can't get along without the women. So
You got that right.
Women, nobody would see here.
So, where did death come from?
All in the world.
A fall in the world. Well, Paul's answer, he gives us the answer in through different scriptures. In fact, Romans chapter 5, he says, sin came into the world through one man. So, who's that? Adam. And death came through sin. And so death spread to all because all have sinned. It is not God who destroys, but sin, for the wages of sin is sin, and death in all its malignant forms reflects neither the will nor the intentional action of God. It was an alien intruder into God's violence-free creation. God didn't want, and so all this mess. That was not his original intention. Not God who destroyed. All the bad stuff that you see happening in the Old Testament, all the bad that we see in the world today, God didn't want